PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to PLD Projects. Welcome back to Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast. Myself and my boy, my co-pilot, the man with the hair, Mr. Matty Gunner. How are you doing, my friend?
The man with the hair, like you haven't got any, just because it's under a hat. It's definitely that. It's definitely. I'm all right, mate. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's been kind of a hell of a week, just doing stuff here and there. Always staying busy, as you know. But I'm glad to be back on a regular schedule with you, my friend. You made your triumphant return last week, and everybody came in and tuned in for that. Got the video views got up there pretty quickly at this time. I'm pretty impressed, pretty happy with that. We've actually been doing well with subscribers.
I think it's because I came back.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
People love you, but when it's you and me,
oh, it's you. You're the eye candy, first of all. So I mean, that's what it is for sure.
I don't want to say anything, but I've been working hard to get these back. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to use my washing machine anymore. I can just wash my clothes like right off these. You know what I'm saying?
But, bam, boom.
It's good. It's good being back, and this week we're talking about something that we've thrown about quite a few times. Like. We should talk about this. We should talk about this. And I'm like, last week when we were thinking up topics, because obviously we're between shows, I was kind of like, we haven't done it yet. Yeah. And this is a book that I feel like needs to be discussed.
Agreed. I do think it's kind of funny. We've been talking about this for a while too. Like we said, we started off our show. We actually did a couple Star Wars podcasts before Holy Snokes became a thing. We started Holy Snokes, it was right during Bad Batch and Mando and everything else. Like we just kind of hit the ground running, and we never had to look for any topic. It was always like, well, we know what the topic is. And then we kind of like when we
did Light of the Jedi, right? I'm pretty sure that when we were
that was Scoundrels. Yeah, that was definitely Scoundrels. I think we did Light of the Jedi during Scoundrels. Kind of vaguely remember that. Kind of every once in a while I saw it. I looked through the backlog, as it were, of those videos, which I don't have a playlist for anymore. I don't think. I think I'm gonna. I don't know how to find it, but either way, you're right. We have, but like since Holy Snokes was kind of like an easy going, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we have nothing to talk about specifically. We have to come up with stuff, and like. You see other Star Wars podcasts doing stuff, and they're fun stuff, and I always want to do fun stuff at the same time. I was always kind of like unsure of what necessarily to do, but we always did talk about let's get some books in there, let's get some of the other stuff in there, and finally we're like, yeah, you said like let's do it. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's just do it.
We'll do an episode on the holiday special at some point towards Christmas.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Actually, you had an interesting choice this week for next week's topic, or not next week's topic, for an upcoming topic, as it were. I'll go ahead and say it now because we both agreed to do it. You pitched covering Rebel Dawn, the Zack Snyder movie. Rebel Moon, the Zack Snyder movie. And my initial thought was,
you thinking Dawn of Justice?
I was thinking Dawn of Justice. Or actually, I think it's a Rebel Dawn book on Star Wars. Maybe that's what I was thinking. That's what it was too. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I was saying, like, you pitched that, and my idea was like, well, it's not really a Star Wars movie, but it is. I kind of like, I was like, you know what? We don't always have to do necessarily.
It was supposed to be, right?
It was Star Wars tangential. This is what Zack Snyder pitched to Lucasfilm at some point. I'm not sure what happened necessarily, but I think he might have taken it back, and he might have said no, or I don't know if they said no, or either way, they had conversations and it didn't happen. And Lucasfilm probably said no. Actually, probably honestly, what happened, I think, I mean, again, this is my speculation, but knowing the parties as I've been, learning about them over the course of the last 10 years, I kind of feel like Zack Snyder didn't want to kowtow to Lucasfilm's. Like Lucasfilm probably wanted more control.
You sure about that? Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think Zack Snyder
is my speculation. I think Lucasfilm already have the fucking rabid fandom of Star Wars and didn't want to deal with the bullshit of the Snyder fans coming in and messing, like screwing even more with that ecosystem.
Could be, but Zack Snyder is one of those directors who likes his controls. So I think like he didn't want to have a Warner Brothers situation where he started doing something and they kind of took over for him and everything. I think he wanted to make it. It's like, you know what, I want to make my own thing. I'll do it on my own. Although if you watch the first teaser, I haven't watched the new trailer yet. Actually, I forgot that it came out. I just wasn't around for it. I still got to watch that later on tonight. The first teaser looked a lot like, oh, yep, this was his version of Star Wars. You got lightsabers, you got magic stuff going on. So I thought it'd be kind of cool. We'll do a Rebel Moon review when we watch it, but we'll also kind of maybe turn into like a what if kind of scenario, as if like this was in the Star Wars universe. What would this have been? Where would this have been? Who these characters might have been, kind of thing, and have that kind of discussion. Could be a lot of fun. Hopefully,
waiting for the fan theories of like the father in Ahsoka is holding out 4 fingers. The statue of, I can't remember what the statue is in Justice League, is also holding out 4 fingers. That's a direct correlation between the Justice League is going to be revitalized in the Star Wars universe.
It's so funny. It's such a funny conversation to have. I mean, funny is a strong word because, I mean, I actually am a Zack Snyder fan. I enjoy that. I know everybody just turned off the show now, maybe. But like, I've always been a Zack Snyder fan. I loved 300. I loved Dawn of the Dead. I actually really love Man of Steel, and I enjoyed the director's cut of Batman vs Superman. I liked his Justice League. I like a lot of the stuff he's done movie-wise. I get why some people don't. He's definitely more of a visual director, and I understand some of the issues people have with him. But at the same time, as far as his movies go, I really enjoy it. And I actually am very much looking forward to Rebel Moon because of that.
Yeah.
His zealotous fan base, on the other hand, that is something that's a little different. And I'm a fan of Zack Snyder, but I'm not a Zack Snyder fanboy, whatever you want to call it.
Could you imagine Snyder fans in the YouTube chat?
Wow. That might actually be kind of an apocalypse, potentially.
That would be like the second coming of the apocalypse.
I would actually potentially watch that show, to be honest with you, just to kind of see
how many sides of the apocalypse are there? There's the swarm of locusts, the headless horseman, the 4 horsemen, and Snyder fans showing up in that dude's YouTube chat.
That would be funny. That would be fun.
So Rebel Moon is essentially what if Zack Snyder directed a Star Wars film? Do you know who I would love to see do a Star Wars film? Taika Waititi.
That's a great segue, my friend. Let's get into our news bits. You still got it. We do some news bits here on Star Wars on Holy Snokes before we get to our main topic. Not a lot of news still. The strikes have ended. The strikes kind of ended almost
allegedly
on air last week. Allegedly, that's right.
No, it was on air.
It was actually it happened a little bit after. I think it happened a little bit after.
But I think like pen to paper probably happened like while we were on air.
That's probably true. Yeah, of course. So we are doing the world a favor, right? I guess somehow. But
we're going to talk about Taika Waititi's movie in a second. I bet you we'll hit stop on the recording and they'll have a title, a date, a cast, everything already announced.
That would happen. That's how we roll. That's how we roll. But the strike did end last week. I guess I still have to vote on it, but it all seems like it's going to happen. They're moving forward like it is. The strike, actually, technically, the strike is over. Like they stopped striking.
It's postponed.
Exactly. The actual official agreement hasn't been officially ratified, but which means everything's going back to work. But we aren't quite at the point of getting any more solid news. I think they're all the studios are kind of like scrambling now to make sure everything's in order. We're getting some news drip fed to us here and there about everything. Not a lot of Star Wars news has come out yet. But one thing did come out. There was a Taika Waititi. He's directed a new movie, Next Goal Wins, and at I think it was a press conference for that.
So good.
Is it good?
So good.
Oh, good. I haven't seen it. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I wanted to like it. I was surprised because it became one of our Regal Cinema has like a mystery movie, and usually it's those movies that are expected to do well. So it's like, God, his star has fallen that far. But
so it was this month's Cineworld like private screening where they don't tell you what it's going to be.
Same. That's what we have. Yeah, Regal Cinema. Yeah.
I think that might be. I think
they are the
Regal.
same.
Yeah, they're the same company, right?
I think they are now. Yeah,
dude, watching it, I was just like, this is fantastic.
great.
It's proper if Taika Waititi did Ted Lasso,
That's fair.
but to a true
fair.
story.
I mean, I know his star has fallen like tremendously since Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder kind of pushed things back. It kind of has. Like the fact that it's in the Monday movie like that, because usually they're not. They don't put the blockbusters there. You don't put the big. You're not going to see a Martin Scorsese film as a Monday like, but they don't tell you what.
I don't know. I watched Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet either. I've heard great things about that. Oh, you haven't? You didn't like it? Okay. Fair. Okay. All right. Well, maybe that's another show we'll have to do when you dissect Killers of the Flower Moon.
I'm just like, Marty, you know movies can be under 3 hours, right?
Hey, I've always said no good movie is long enough and no bad movie is short enough. That's the way I know,
I'm just like, and this is like a complete tangent, but I'm just like, after The Irishman, I'm like, dude, come on. Because I struggled with The Irishman. Like, I even tried the 45-minute split up, the way you can turn it into like a Netflix series.
Right.
I tried that. I was just like, Jesus.
Interesting. You're not the only person I've heard that from. I enjoyed The Irishman a lot, although I will admit I haven't gone back to it. But I really did enjoy it quite a bit. But,
I will say now Marty's like becoming like a social media personality as well. Like he has a Letterboxd. He's doing like the this or that with the movies.
Yeah, was it his granddaughter? Is it his daughter?
I think the granddaughter or daughter. Probably his granddaughter. He's probably of that age where he's got a few.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's been kind of fun. But I would say Thor: Love and Thunder was not well received overall. He's not coming back for Thor 5, which is understandable at this point. But I'm hoping that he could come back strong with some things. But specifically, he was asked by Ash Crossan about him doing Star Wars. And he confirmed he's still working on Star Wars, but added that everybody is very busy on both sides of the table. So his long in development film may not come that soon. He said, and I quote, "At the moment, I'm still developing something with them. Like me, they have a lot of projects going on. I think they're going to push it until I finish those other projects. I've got about 4 other scripts that I'm trying to finish. My thing is I want to take my time with that and get it right. I don't want to rush this movie." So the thing about that quote is it's a little better than just we're still working together. Looks like he has a time frame in mind. He has 4 scripts he wants to finish, which is about 6 or 7 years away, which also makes it pretty clear why he wasn't announced at Celebration as part of the first 3 movies.
Because he's slacking.
His movie's going to be after that, which is fine. Like, see, all of that, like, I feel like this rings true and should be a strike against the Taika movie is never going to happen now. They've canceled it, whatever. I don't think anything of the sort. I think honestly, he has the Akira movie he's doing. He has a couple other things. I can't remember. Exactly
he's doing an Akira movie.
He's got an Akira movie in the work. He got 2 other movies that he was talking about. He's got 4 scripts he's trying to work on right now and finish. One of them, I think at least 3 of them, I believe he's directing. So he's got movies in line. So
and he's also working on Our Flag Means Death.
Yes, that's another one. So I think at this point he will be. I think he is still wanting to do Star Wars. I think Lucasfilm still wants to work with him. I think it will happen. It's just a case of we're going to do it here at the end. That's like number 5 in line. So I think it's good that it kind of came out that way, because since he said that, I feel like if he didn't say something like that, people would be going, well, what's going on with Star Wars? Well, what's going on with Star Wars? Well, I'm sure people will still do that a little bit to a degree, but there's an answer out there now that yes, I'm doing it, but I got a couple movies ahead of me that I'm doing first. So I'm okay with that. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? Anything that you feel the same thing I do in a way? Yeah, where it's a little more
kind of. But I also feel like it's Taika's way of being like trying to keep his name still in the conversation and being like, yeah, I'm still writing it. It's just like it feels like a long-winded way of saying I'm still writing it. Like nothing's changed. I am still writing this. And I think it's a way of him being like, keeping his name in the conversation for like getting this, because he can pitch this script. Doesn't mean Lucasfilm's definitely going to pick it up. They may turn around and say, okay, cool, we like this idea. we're either gonna take it, give it to someone else to write a second script, or we'll just be like, yeah, we'll put that on the shelf like we did Rogue Squadron.
Quite possibly. I do feel we're a little bit more down the line than that. I kind of feel like Taika probably pitched the story. They like it. I mean, they do got to have approval of the screenplay, obviously, and that's going to be the big thing. I did look up the article on Star Wars News Net. He does have what he's got going on right now. He's committed to writing an adaptation of the Incal, which I don't know much about. He's got a new version of Flash Gordon he's working on as well.
Oh, sick.
And a remake of Akira that was expected to have already in pre-production at this point, wasn't for the strike.
So who's going to do the theme song?
He's also, that's a good question. That is a good question. It better be Queen.
I don't think you can use Queen.
I don't think you can use it at the same time. Oh, speaking of that, it's kind of funny because there's a remake of The Highlander coming with Chad Stahelski directing Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, right? Yeah.
Henry Cavill. And he has mentioned that the Queen music will be heard, but maybe in ways you're not expecting or something to that effect. So I don't know.
That means it's going to be one of those trailer-fied versions of the song.
Could be where we hear that, or will it be like a modern band covering the Queen song potentially as maybe possible? That's a potential thing
Chat,
you're doing.
Hit the line.
There you go. There you go. A little Mourner version of Princes of the Universe or something.
Oh yeah, I could. Yeah. I'd be down.
There you go. There you go. He's also directing Clara and the Sun, which I don't know much about, but so. He does have these pieces in place, obviously. I do feel like he loves Star Wars. Obviously, he worked with The Mandalorian. I think he does love Star Wars quite a bit. I think this is not something I don't think it's one of those kind of like poo-pooing kind of things. He obviously loves the franchise. So I think he asked the question. I think he is writing it, but he just got other things on the table first. And I like the fact. Actually, I like that a lot because he doesn't want to rush it. Because even though I enjoyed Thor: Love and Thunder, I did enjoy it. I'm not going to lie. I'll put myself out there and say, you know what? Everybody hated it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I mean, I thought
we go back and watch our class action episode where we talk about Love and Thunder versus Ragnarok.
Yeah.
All three of us, you, me, and Jarvi, like, we really enjoyed it. And I went up there and said, I think Gore is my favorite MCU villain so far.
There you go. I will say, I mean, it is a step down from Ragnarok, but Ragnarok is my favorite MCU film, to be completely honest.
Well, it's a step down from perfection. It's still fucking great.
Exactly. It's a lot of fun. But for whatever reason, it was not met well. And one of the reasons why was that it was rushed. It was definitely, they had some moments of a lot of things were being rushed at this point, and he was rushing through things. So let him take his time with Star Wars. Let's see what happens. So
his vodka advert with Daniel Craig should have redeemed all of that.
That was pretty fun.
I would say I found out someone who also really, really loves Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to direct a movie because they've already started one. This is just a little humble brag. But last week, I met Paul Bettany.
Right. Yeah.
I got to meet Paul Bettany. Did I ask him a single thing about Star Wars? Not a thing. Not a damn thing. But I think I asked him like 9 or 10 odd questions about A Knight's Tale.
That actually very tracks for you. Absolutely.
It does. Ask him about my favorite movie. I told him about my dream of one day fighting for the UFC title in London and having him announce me as Chaucer instead of Bruce Buffer. And he laughed at that. He thought that was really cool. But then we went to this is kind of a little bit of I guess this is kind of a news topic, but I'm just like sliding it in here.
Yeah.
He talked about how, because we went to his talk, he did like a talk in London afterwards,
right?
And he says how he got the role of Dryden Voss was when Ron Howard got the when he got the job, and he found out he was going to be making Solo, because obviously they'd done A Beautiful Mind together, they'd done Da Vinci Code. He was like, hey, have you ever wondered on a lonely winter night what it's like to have never been in the Star Wars franchise, even though you've been a fan of it since 1977? Nah, me neither. So he essentially guilt tripped Howard into letting him into the movie.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a smart thing to do. Hey, why not, man? Certainly, it's a smart thing to do. And he was great. I loved him in the role. One of my favorite parts of Solo.
So good.
I'd love to see a background story from Dryden Voss. To be honest with you,
I have a theory. I have a theory of Dryden Voss' backstory.
Oh, Okay.
Should we just go into it,
Go
or
ahead.
should we say that?
Go ahead.
I think he's a Mandalorian,
Oh, okay.
or a
And a
former Mandalorian.
foundling. Foundling then, or
No, straight up former Mandalorian.
okay. Okay.
His yacht was created on the same what was the moon? Kalevala? The moon that Bo-Katan's from?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I'm not as good
I
at
think
trivia as I
I think
used
that's
to
it.
be.
But that is where his yacht
Was
was
made.
made.
Okay.
Obviously,
Okay.
he's a disciple of Maul's, because we see
Right.
him at the end of Clone Wars, where
Yeah.
Maul is like, he has the hologram up and he's got all the leaders there.
Yeah.
He is an expert at hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
He
You think he was a
has,
Mandalorian?
I think he was, because he has the red Mando suit
Yeah.
in a display.
Yeah.
The red Beskar armor in a display on the Last Light. So I'm like, is Dryden Voss a Mandalorian?
I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I mean, we'll figure that out in a book or something at some point, or a comic book at some point. But I think that's a good idea. I think that
I floated to the guys over on Thank the Maker one time,
Right.
and they were all like, "Huh,
Makes sense.
why has no one ever brought this up before?" I'm like,
right.
Right.
It makes sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
But maybe he wasn't like a Mandalorian in the way of like Din Djarin or Gar Saxon. Maybe he was kind of more like the more political
Right.
end, and he was like not the warrior, but like a bit of a shit weasel. But he just so happened to know how to fight.
Yeah, that's a Mandalorian shit weasel. They still know how to fight, even they're shit weasel.
That's my humble brag that I got to meet Paul Bettany.
Awesome.
Like, and actually have a conversation with him, which was fucking mind blowing. Like, unreal. He's so nice and so sweet and so funny that I was just kind of like, I can't believe like I'm actually talking to you right now. And then yeah, my little theory there. But you have a second piece of news.
I do, but you know what? I got to comment on one thing. You asked him about Knight's Tale. I would ask him about working on A Beautiful Mind with Ed Harris. That would have been my
oh yeah, Ed Harris wasn't you. You should have told me. I would have asked him.
There you should, exactly. Speaking of Ed Harris, another piece of non-Star Wars, and I got to bring up something very excited. The Abyss special edition coming to theaters on December 6th. James Cameron.
I saw that tweet.
Blu-ray transfer.
Here's the thing. I saw that tweet. I saw our friend PJ Campbell tweet about it. I was like, I want to tweet Paul the article, but I know he's already got but he's either already seen it or he's got like 10 million people. His entire followership is just like tweeting at him right now saying that the Abyss is back.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. A bunch of people did. I'm okay with it. I don't mind when people do that because like it's fun. I always feel like okay, not being very excited about like the 10th time I see him, like, oh, I got it. But I always appreciate it no matter, because you never know, because some people might feel like you do sometimes. Maybe if everybody started feeling that way, I wouldn't get it. I wouldn't know. But yeah, so I was very excited about that. I'm very excited about getting that for a long time. Not only that, but getting the Abyss, True Lies. They're all coming out on 4K in March. That's going to be pretty cool. But seeing it in the theater on December 6th is going to be the thing for me. I
have always said that every man going into adulthood, going into manhood, must watch True Lies. That should be like a freaking qualifying fact that you are not a legal adult male until you have watched True Lies.
Probably my favorite Paxton role, maybe potentially. It is pretty good in that. All right, let's bring it back to Star Wars a little bit. Mando season 4. That's got a bit of news. We talked about the strikes ending and how things are going to be ramping up potentially. We haven't heard much. We did get a small piece in terms of from a social media standpoint. Katie Sackhoff posted a picture of herself with her Bo-Katan wig back on while holding her child. And she said, a little throwback Thursday, since we can talk about work again. Thank you, SAG-AFTRA. And I also miss my baby while traveling. I can't wait to be home, but also put this wig on again. Hashtag Bo-Katan, hashtag mommy, hashtag working mom. So I think it's safe to say that she is going to be in Mando season 4. I believe that's what that is
Is
saying.
that it? Oh,
Is that it? I don't know. Is there going to be a Bo-Katan spinoff potentially? Well, that's actually the thing I wanted to bring up because, well, let me finish the other bit of news. We'll go back to this speculation.
I just want to put that little seed in there.
Absolutely. I got Brendan Wayne also had posted something similar about Mando starting to ramp up now. The question being,
I did see that. I did see that. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot about that. I did see that.
Now, when is it going to happen? It's all speculation from there. I mean, it's highly unlikely at this point that they'll probably do anything before the end of the year. I kind of feel like they'll probably start filming in February, is my guess, January or February potentially, because the holidays are coming up. It's hard to get everyone together to start doing it, and then have to break for holidays anyway. So that would mean, we might get it towards the very end of next year. Potentially got to get it maybe in December, something to that effect. Potentially, maybe not, maybe beginning of 2025. That might be the way it is. But it does feel like it's really again starting to ramp up. Now, as for your comments, we'll go back to that. So a lot of questions I have here. So we have Bo-Katan coming back. Okay, so she's definitely doing something, or else she wouldn't post that, I think. Mando season 4 is obviously the first thing that comes to mind, and the first thing we're going to do. Is there a spinoff happening at some point? Does there need to be a spinoff happening at some point? Because then there's the news of, Pedro Pascal being extremely busy. Where are we with that? I mean, there's been rumors that Pedro Pascal would not come back potentially because he's so busy with everything else. He hasn't even been on the studio set for a while. Do we not have Din for a bit? Or do we have Din? He just does the voiceover. I mean, last season, if I remember correctly, did we see Pedro Pascal once? We didn't see him once, did we?
He even came out and he said, like, I did all voiceover work. That was all Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder in the suit for season 3.
Okay, so that makes sense. So we just can do that again. He doesn't have to show his face, and he could still be there.
I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, it's a pretty good-looking face to look at, so it would be nice.
But even if he does, make his face known, he could pop on set for one day and do 2 days and do a couple of scenes. You know what I mean? But the question is, because there was always that kind of case that people who had some issue with Mando season 3 last year was partially because it seemed like it was the Bo-Katan show now, not the Mando show. Is Bo-Katan taking over the show? So do we need a spinoff if Bo-Katan's going to be like the head lead character of Mando season 4 going forward? There's a lot of moving pieces as to what this all means, and if we need a Bo-Katan spinoff if she's such a strong force in the Mandalorian? I don't know. Is she the Mandalorian now? I don't know. A whole lot of things in play. I think you can't really go wrong either way. I don't think we get a Bo-Katan spinoff because I do think that we are in an era where Bob Iger and Lucasfilm are trying to kind of scale things back quantity wise as far as things go. We already know we have Mando season 4, we have Ahsoka season 2, which hasn't been technically announced yet, but it's going to happen. And Skeleton Crew, and maybe a Rangers of the Republic show ever leading into Dave Filoni's movie. I don't know if we could throw in another series in the middle of that still at this point. So maybe
they're getting started on the movie.
Maybe they're going to start the movie. That could be potentially. I don't think so, because I think we're still a little far away from that. We still have a lot of places we got to go before we get there. I don't think the movie is even completely written yet. I think the story is there, but as far as actually writing it, they got to get through everything else first to see where they end up. Because a lot of times I don't think you can write the movie now until everything else is done. You know what I mean? I mean, I think Mando season 4 is actually written pretty much already, is what Jon Favreau had said. But then all the other things go in place. You kind of have to, because when you have an idea for a story and then you write the screenplay out, things tend to change. I think you want to wait until that's done and so you move on to actually write the next piece or the piece further down the line, as the Mando movie would be. But I don't think my gut tells me no Bo-Katan spinoff. That's what my gut tells me. My gut tells me we're going to get a lot of Bo-Katan in the Mando season 4 still, though.
Probably. To the point of, is Bo-Katan now becoming the Mandalorian? I think the precedent has been set of, is Anakin Skywalker really the chosen one? I feel like that has kind of allowed people to discourse. Din Djarin is the Mandalorian.
Right.
Like, that he is, in terms of this show, like the show, The Mandalorian, he's the Mandalorian. Because he is who is on all the packaging. He is who we see in the very first episode. Bo-Katan is a Mandalorian, and they very well could be like we're bringing her in, and this is the Mandalorian for this
Now,
story.
right?
But you could also have done that with Boba Fett. You could have
Yeah.
been like, Boba Fett is the Mandalorian for this story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it could
I
be.
agree.
I still think that Din Djarin is the Mandalorian. I just think where Pedro Pascal is now, they're probably the most famous actor on the planet.
Quite close.
It's going to be hard getting him to come in, even if it's for a day or two, because I don't know if they've announced when they're going to start working on the last of season 2, but you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to be soon.
And Gladiator 2 he's already working on it at this point.
Is he in that?
He is. So yeah,
I was hesitant about that. I was very much like, I don't want a Gladiator 2. But now you've said that, my ears are perking up.
Denzel Washington is in it too, supposedly. So like, it's like
I did hear that.
Ridley Scott, Denzel, Pedro Pascal. I don't know. You can go wrong with that, to be honest with you. So
I don't know if you can, but also it's also like, do we want to gamble with these legacy sequels? Top Gun Maverick was like a once in a generation. Yeah.
Well, it has Ed Harris in it. So that's all you need. Gladiator 2, get Ed Harris in there, and you'll be fine.
Ed Harris is in Gladiator 2?
He should be. That would make it okay. He's not yet, but he should be. I will say I agree.
Harris plays the son of plays like an older Commodus.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. What I was going to say though is, like, you bring up the Boba Fett thing, and I think the show wasn't ready to get rid of Din Djarin at that point. It does feel like, not that they're getting rid of Din Djarin, but the way the Mando season 3 ended, it kind of felt like a series finale to a degree at some point. You know, it had that kind of like Din and Grogu chilling out on his newfound land, and they even had that edit where it pops in on the front. It felt like a series. It was great, but in a way, if that was a series finale, would that have surprised you in terms of like story wise? That's a good series way to end his story, so to speak. So they do have the out if that's the way they want to go. And sure, Brendan Wayne could play well, but that's what I mean. It's the Doctor Who syndrome. It's a regeneration. Bo-Katan is now the Mandalorian. And Brendan Wayne could still be in the Mandalorian as a new character. I mean, like all this stuff could make sense. Do I think that's the way it's going to happen? Probably not. But that is kind of a cool precedent. It would be kind of a cool precedent to set. Like I said, like the Doctor Who thing. If you kind of like go for a little bit, you tell a story, and then you kind of like, okay, who's the Mandalorian now? Okay, now we're gonna have a story about I don't know, the kid there, the kid that survived or whatever, that kind of thing. Like it could be anybody.
Oh, Ragnar.
That's right. I was couldn't think of the name off the top of my head. Stuff like that. You could do that in a way. So, and then you know what? Din could like pull a David Tennant and come back in like season 8 or something like that, and be the Mandalorian again. It's such an interesting precedent. I know I have Doctor Who in mind. Everybody who watches PLD products know I talk about Doctor Who incessantly, especially with the
isn't that coming out soon?
6th anniversary coming out very soon. November 25th is the first special. Then it's December 2nd, then December 9th, so 3 weeks in a row. Then we're getting a Christmas special. And next year starts the new series, the new season, so to speak.
I don't watch a lot of Doctor Who, but that whenever, like, if I'm home when the Christmas special is on, 9 times out of 10 I'll probably like stick it. I'll have no idea what's going on during it. But it's just like almost become like a Christmas tradition.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just watch it. I'm like, I have no idea. I think the last one I watched was like, and we will get onto Rise of the Red Blade after this, but I think it was the one where like all the doctors like convene on Gallifrey. Is that the name of the planet, Gallifrey?
Yeah.
And all I can remember is just like a lot of like sand and dust, and like Matt Smith was in it. I think David Tennant was in it for a little bit.
You're thinking of the 50th anniversary special that David
so.
Matt together at the end. All the doctors to get together to save the day. And Pierre Capaldi was kind of semi-introduced before his reintroduction, kind of thing.
Yes, that was the one.
Yeah, 50th anniversary. That was a good one.
Because I remember seeing Peter Capaldi, and I was like,
"Is just seeing his eyes?"
I was like, "Is he going to be dropping F-bombs like as the
Yeah, he had been announced to be taking Matt Smith's place, but he did make that was his first. Like, he kind of made a semi.
A fucking object.
It's just his eyes. He became my favorite Doctor, to be honest. I think he's my favorite Doctor. But all right, enough Doctor Who talk. I derail all my shows with Doctor Who at some point or another. PJ and I are actually going to bring back 2 mediocre white idiots in a box for the Doctor Who shows. But anyway, let's get on to the main subject of Star Wars today. Obviously, speaking of David Tennant, you know, he's a part of Star Wars, so we can talk about that. Matt Smith is almost a part of Star Wars. But then, of course, Rise of Skywalker happened, and he wasn't involved, unfortunately.
Fucking robbed, dude. We were robbed.
Yep, I agree about that. I definitely agree there. But all right, let's get into this book, Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade, written by Delilah S. Dawson, who is probably best known in Star Wars as the writer of Phasma. I think that probably her claim to fame. She's written a couple of short stories here and there.
Black Spire Outpost, maybe.
Black Spire Outpost was another big one. I think Phasma was probably the biggest one, though. But I mean, she's written some good stuff. I enjoyed Phasma quite a bit. I enjoyed her Black Spire Outpost. I forget the name of the book exactly, but I think it was just Black Spire Outpost.
It was Black Spire Outpost.
Black Spire Outpost. I enjoyed both of her novels. Galaxy's Edge, Black Spire. That's what it was. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Some short stories as well. She is a writer who is known for strong female characters, emotional female characters. Writes very well about those emotional stakes for those central characters, and this is no different. I will say right off the bat, and remember when this was announced, I was very, very excited because Star Wars publishing has been I don't know how to say this. Like, I love Star Wars publishing. I love the High Republic so far. I've enjoyed it, but outside of the High Republic, the books tended to be much more in the vein of companion pieces to whatever was going on the big screen.
Okay.
There's a lot of like Catalyst for Rogue One or Phasma for the sequel trilogy, or it was like, so they're prequels, there were tie-ins to a degree. They had a couple of different ones, like Blood Ties was different from what's her name? Oh God, I'm blanking on her name. Lost Stars author.
Claudia Gray.
Claudia Gray, thank you. Was a Princess Leia novel, was definitely one of those in-between stories which we need. Whereas like Legends had used to been filled with all sorts of stories that took place in every nook and cranny of the galaxy and every different character. They all seem to mostly nowadays be tied in somewhere and in a place where you couldn't do anything completely important with the characters because they were all tied in somewhere else. And usually, you know, if there's something important was going to happen in their lives, it's going to happen on screen. Right. So that's kind of how I felt about publishing. It was like they kind of got hamstrung themselves to become like this. Oh, we're here too for the main topic of conversation. This got announced, and this has nothing to do with any other piece of media as far as characters go, generally speaking. Obviously, it takes place in a very specific time frame, and it is definitely related to the prequel trilogy and Revenge of the Sith and right afterwards. But as a character piece, it's completely on its own. And I loved that fact that all of a sudden we have this character who's going to get introduced. I mean, she made her appearance in the Darth Vader comics briefly. But
literally, when this got announced, I was like, the chick from the Charles Soule Darth Vader comic is getting her own novel.
Right.
And like, spoiler alert for the comic, but like, she dies pretty quick.
Yeah.
In the comic.
It's not a good news. It wasn't a good look as far as that goes. But at the same time, it should have been. And I think that's why, like, after I let it sit for a bit, I'm like, this is kind of really cool because we don't have to really get tied anywhere else. We can really find out this person's history, how she connects to the galaxy at large. We do have some connective tissue throughout, but on its own, it's its own kind of standalone story. And I love that fact. I think the publishing needs more of this. The High Republic was definitely an answer to that as well. But now the High Republic kind of its own like messy, I mean, not messy is the right word, but like interconnected kind of thing. And you don't have a lot of room to breathe because you got to tell your overall story. I like this as a breath of fresh air.
This to me, God, because I loved The Rising Storm. This might be my favorite Star Wars novel that I've ever read.
Ever.
It's definitely in top 3.
Including Legends.
including Legends.
Okay.
This might be number one because of how deep into the emotional traumas and just the consequences of the war and the consequences of growing up essentially as a child soldier.
Right.
That's what they were. And it like from reading the High Republic and now reading this, it delved quite a bit into how the Jedi were so susceptible to fear. Like they would constantly say fear is the path to the dark side, but they were so susceptible to fear that they let it consume them. And it's very easy. We see with the Nameless in the High Republic. Obviously, I don't know if they're still around at this point. We haven't got that far yet in the High Republic, but it's very easy to see how Palpatine could have looked back through history, seen everything that happened to bring the Jedi down, because that's essentially what the Nihil have done. It's almost like the Nihil was the blueprint,
right,
for Palpatine's idea of how do I beat the Jedi? I have to make them fear the unknown, and then you have there's patterns like rushing Padawans through to Night Ship. Like there's patterns that happen through, and it's just it shows the Jedi in this light of those who failed to learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Absolutely. I will say, you mentioned this is your top 3 potentially. I definitely am a person who loved Legends, or a lot of Legends. Most of Legends. There's a lot of crap in there too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not someone who also got pissed off when Disney disavowed Legends. Legends looked to me like they're still there. I just it's fine. That's the way I looked at it. It's kind of tough sometimes to put this up against some of those, because to remember that Legends really was Star Wars for a bit. It continued when Star Wars wasn't going to come back. It continued all those stories of Luke and Leia and Han that we never got. So a lot of that is very sacred to me, and I remember getting a lot of love out of it as a kid. But I will say this is one of my favorite books of the new canon for sure, and it does hold a great candle to those books I did love. It reminded me a lot, in some degrees, to the Matthew Stover book, Traitor, from the Jedi Order, where it's kind of deconstruction of Jason Solo, Han Solo, and Leia Solo's child.
Where he more becomes Darth Caedus, right?
And becomes Darth Caedus. No, that's the starting to become Darth Caedus. When he kind of starts down that dark path, forever. This kind of reminded me of that, a little deconstruction going on of who the Jedi were, who the Jedi are supposed to be, and what they're going to do. And I think deconstruction is a really good word when you're talking about Rise of the Red Blade, because they basically deconstruct the Jedi Order, like you said, Jedi Order completely. It's an outsider view of the Jedi Order, and get that audience viewpoint through Iskat Akaris, who, by the way, speaking of Doctor Who, has 2 hearts, so she really almost like a Time Lord.
I did think that when that came up, I was like, oh, when I was like going back through it and like giving it another listen, I was like, Paul's definitely gonna bring that up. So that's the second Doctor Who thing we got. The big question that I never thought to ask, that I never thought would get, let alone get answered, never thought to ask, is what if a Jedi chose to become an Inquisitor? I feel like that this book asks that question, because we know that the Jedi, they were essentially taken and they were conditioned. Which, by the way, that was one of my favorite parts of the book, was like learning more about that process. But asking the question of what if one chose to become an Inquisitor, like through their own free will, decided to become an Inquisitor, I was like, whoa! I never thought of that. Never once thought of that.
Yeah, you're great. It's a great point. It's wonderful watching her. I mean, as Star Wars fans, we're used to seeing the story of a fallen hero. We obviously got to watch Anakin Skywalker fall, but that obviously had greater galaxy stakes, as it were. This has very little galaxy stakes in terms of, I mean, yes, the Inquisitors fuck up the galaxy a lot, obviously, but this is very much more personal. And in a way, as a book, we really get to watch the fall happen a little more slowly but surely as we go on throughout the tales here. I mean, this sets up a good spot for her. I mean, she always seems to be someone who, right from the get-go, doesn't quite fit in, has had some mistakes made, and some people have held it against her.
I didn't like that character's name was Taika, by the way. That annoyed me.
That's fair. That's fair. But I like where we began. I like where we went, and all along, Delilah does a great job of making you stay empathetic with this cat, even as she grows more and more walks more and more down that dark path, to the point where even when she does succumb, like, you're supposed to not like the Inquisitor, they're the bad guys at this point. You're supposed to be upset, but at the same time, you can't help after reading going, yeah, they fucking did it to themselves. They really screwed themselves over. Even Yoda, to a degree, didn't really. I mean, that's Yoda's greatest failure, is that it feels like he got so tied up in everything else that he lost track of the individuals at times. At least to the point of being able to talk to them or help them deal with what they're dealing with. As a whole, he's still there and still good and still probably the ultimate sign of a Jedi Master, but he couldn't stop Izcat's descent. The few platitudes here and there, and that's just another word, platitudes. That's what we hear a lot about. Jedi come off looking really dogmatic and really ineffective.
Look at Mace. Look at Mace in this one. Like, Mace is full on. Like, I used to think that it was just Anakin that Mace was a dick to. No, that man should not have been around children.
Yeah, absolutely.
He should not have been put in charge of bringing up children that were taken from their families that have zero connection to anyone. And that was one of the big things for me. You bring up Yoda, of like, Yoda's seen this before,
right?
He was there during the High Republic,
right? Oof. Exactly. He's been there throughout the thick and thin. But he's also fallible. I guess that's the one thing we have to learn about Yoda. And it's a good way to learn that, is that he was put forth in Empire Strikes Back as this, like, almost like near omniscient being. I mean, obviously he made some mistakes where he would ended up in Dagobah, but he knows so much of the Force, like, it's hard to see him fail. And yet this book is one that shows how he could do that while still maintaining his, like, respectability. Like, we don't look down on Yoda after this book. It's not like we don't blame him full on, but it's kind of like Yoda, you could have done better here with her.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I do see him in a little bit of a different light, because there you have the scene with not the scene, the part of the book where he's with Adi Gallia, and I never thought Adi Gallia would be the type to, like, uphold the kind of Jedi doctrine in this way.
Right.
But when Iskat is explaining what happened on the planet, what happened on Thule, which, by the way, the fact that they went to Thule, and the Thule is now canon. And like, they saw the Sith obelisk there. I was like, wait. We're doing this? Like, are we seriously doing this? We're going to Thule. This is happening right now.
Right.
I was just like, that's incredible. But like, and like, she snaps back at her, and it's just like, shows the hypocrisy of the Jedi. It goes back to the line in Revenge of the Sith. In my opinion, the Jedi are evil.
Right.
Good and evil is a matter of perspective, and it just makes you like, I believe that the Jedi's intentions are that of good.
Of course.
I truly believe that they are the heroes of this story. But listen, we see this in our own world today. It takes a couple bad apples to rot the whole tree.
Right. Absolutely.
And when you have someone like Mace Windu, who is just rushing these Padawans through, he's essentially got Iskat on, like, when you mess up too many times at work, and your boss puts you on like a performance review plan,
right,
kind of a thing. He almost had her on like that, and like, he was constantly like watching her, to the point where he was like, well, if you're Tualin, the the Twi'lek Jedi with the black edge.
Right.
He looks sick, by the way. I don't know if you've seen the artwork for him.
I
He
have,
looks,
yeah.
oh, dude, he looks awesome. Where he's just like constantly degrading her and like pushing her down and pushing her down. Where it's like she has this clear objective, like she has this clear yearning to be out on the battlefield. And in a time of war, that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But they're saying, no, do your meditations, go through the mantra. And
right.
It really asked, as someone who has recently lost someone who was like a mother figure to them, it really did well to answer that question of why do we have to accept that my master's died? My master just died. Like, you don't want me to process that as a child. You just want to send me ship me off to someone else. And just forget that happened because they're part of the living force. No, like I completely get it. Right. As like someone who was that angry teenager, like it's not good enough.
Right.
For you to tell me, like, and I'm waffling here. I do want to get your point, but like as someone like as a kid, I went to a Church of England school. I had to sit through like hymns and everything, blah 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 blah. And whenever something happened, like something happened in my life that upset me, they're like, it's part of a bigger plan. It's part of a big. I'm like, bullshit.
Right.
Like that's not good enough. That's not a good enough explanation.
Right.
And then you have the whole part of like Farah, like a Jedi that had a child.
Right.
And they kept it from her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like
intense, man.
What it makes you see the Jedi in we saw them in a different light before, but now it's just like, holy shit.
Right. Because it seems like her fall could have been stopped. Like it feels like that in every junction she's reaching out. She has obviously tapped into the dark side a few times. I think everybody knows that as they go through it. She's obviously a very strong warrior, and that's where her talents lie. They keep kind of push her into these like research roles, into these like negotiation roles. That's like you can't do that to someone like a Scott because she's gonna rebel. She's gonna rebel, and if she rebels, what is she gonna do? She's gonna go down the dark path. If someone is a sword of the Jedi, so to speak, like she really is, I mean, not that Mace is a great teacher, but she almost feels like Mace should have been the one to instruct her. Like, because Mace is that sword of the Jedi kind of person, and he has, like, in depth of the pod, if you look at the legend.
I don't think that would have gone down very well.
I don't know. I think it could have, because it actually could have made both characters better. I think Mace, I think, has an understanding of her to a degree, and I think putting her with Mace could have, I mean, it could have been disastrous, absolutely, but there's also a strong chance that he would learn a little bit more about trying to take too much control, and she would learn a little bit more about how you can do this without falling into the dark side, so to speak, as she absolutely does. It would have been an interesting way to go about it. I don't know how it would have worked out, but I kind of almost wanted to see that story. But with it, we don't get that, even like potentially. Like Mason just kind of rushed them through. We're getting them. They're being thrust out there before they're ready, and we learned that from her first mission where she comes. She does her job. She expects to get praise for it, and yet she's getting questioned at every turn what she did, some choices she made. Some people died under her watch, and that happens. I mean, like Anakin has talked to Snips about this. Quite a few times it happens when you're a Jedi in charge. People below you are gonna fall and pay the price, unfortunately. But could it have been prevented? And that's something they kind of leave up to the Lord, the Force, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the clone captain.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
I know I know it starts with an S. Captain Spider. Captain Spider.
Yep, that's right.
I love him.
Yeah, me too.
Because he's like, again, he's like Iskat in that he rebels against the doctrine that they're given. You know, good soldiers follow orders. Like,
right.
The clones aren't supposed to question the Jedi. But you could tell he's like seething at Iskat for the men that she lost when they went to blow up the factory at the beginning.
Yep.
Like you could tell he's pissed. Like, that's his men. But he's been
Mm-hmm.
told that he has to obey the Jedi, that he has to, like, not question their orders, just go ahead and do it. But he's like, I love that because he's not. It shows that the thought that goes into these clones, yeah, they're all the same person on a genetic level,
Right.
but not up here.
Right. They have their own experiences that have influenced them, and they think differently than each other. Absolutely. Well, instinctually have some of the same instincts, but overall, very different characters. Which is something that Star Wars has done very well over the years, I think, doing, especially like the clone with the Bad Batch and with Rex and Cody and everything like that. But yeah, absolutely.
Because you know he wanted to bring her in during Order 66, which, again, another thing. I love that we got that answered. That Palpatine had, like, a list.
Yeah.
Of, like...
Yeah, a subsection, Order 66 point, or 66C, or something. Yeah. Like, kill everybody, not these people. Bring these people in and arrest them. Kind of thing. I realized he knew would take care of business. Absolutely. It shows Palpatine in great light as far as a master strategist, continues to show him that way. And you almost like you get that ickiness when you feel him. You see, like, you kind of see her falling into his graces or whatever. You're like, damn it, Scott, what are you doing?
I got goosebumps in that the chapter where Mace sends Iskat to accompany Palpatine through the temple.
Yep.
As soon as I saw Palpatine mentioned, I was like, "Oh no,
shit!
He's gonna do the
thing. Yeah,
the thing he did with Anakin. He's gonna, like,
and the
sink his
source of her.
in."
Yep, absolutely.
Mm.
One piece I want to bring up specifically is in preparation for this, like I said, I read this a little while ago, but I kind of wanted to get other people's thoughts on it to see if they could spur my own thoughts. And I found it interesting that a lot of complaints about the book were the fact that it was like 2/3 is as a Jedi and only a third of her actually as an Inquisitor. I guess it's kind of like the Jason Takes Manhattan argument, where he takes a cruise for the first and most 3/4 of the film and actually ends up in New York for the last like 15-20 minutes. It's not Doctor Who, it's horror, Matt. That's how
Jason Takes Manhattan. That's great.
I did not have a problem with this though, because I honestly feel like that the crux of the story was about her becoming the Inquisitor, not being the Inquisitor. Like, the story's Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade, and yes, the picture's her, the red lightsaber, and you want to get your badass. It's like the same people who wanted to see Darth Vader kill all the Jedi and everything else. They wanted to see their badass Inquisitor moments, but that wasn't the story that was being told. The story is the fall or the rise of the Red Blade, the fall of the Jedi. So she has to be a Jedi to watch that fall to make that more emotional, more impactful as we get to the Inquisitor part.
Yeah, and it was. She wasn't even an Inquisitor for that long.
Right.
If you go back and you read the Charles Soule comic, she wasn't an Inquisitor for that long. She was, I believe, the 13th sister.
Right.
And, like, you don't hear about her after that. So it's possible that, it was a pretty quick line in the position, but Palpatine obviously had his eyes on her.
Yeah.
But again, as you say, it was about detailing the fall. And oh my God, what a fall it was, because obviously she goes back to her home planet and she meets her grandmother because she's looking for her mother, who was a Jedi before her. Oh, dude, that's just big. I'm a Jedi like my mother before me. Why didn't they put that in? That would have been so sick.
That would have been great, yeah.
And that was cool because it was like a planet completely devoid of technology.
Right.
Where even the idea of a ship is not even considered. And she's afraid to take back, I think it was like her mother's chain, like her mother's necklace or her mother's ring or something.
Right.
Or her brace, or no, it was a bracelet, I think, because she was scared that it would lead the Inquisitors back to to her home planet and she wouldn't be able to protect it. It's
right.
That going back to your roots to discover who you truly are. She could have stayed on that planet and probably been perfectly happy.
Absolutely.
But then the Inquisitors would have hunted her down. So she was like, I need to go and fulfill this.
Right. 100%. 100%. Yeah, I think that that is the strength of the book, as it were. And again, that's why I had a hard time with these people who were like, oh, too much Jedi, not enough Inquisitor. We got some great moments that we don't get anywhere else. I don't remember ever really delving into a Jedi's backstory as far as their
We learned
family
so
goes.
much.
We learned a lot about her. We learned a lot what made her tick. And again, I'll say right here, one of my favorite characters in the whole book was Hizo.
Oh, dude, I was gonna bring him up. I'm so glad you brought up Hizo.
Hizo was this character who she found as a Jedi in this like secret part of the temple, secret courtyard of the temple, and really was able to open up to because he had his own. He kind of had his own thing. He was outside the Jedi. He was mostly not a janitor, but a tool or worksman and
Like a
maintenance guy
gardener,
there.
like a handyman kind of
Yeah,
deal.
exactly. So he was someone that he could reach out and not be confronted with the dogmatic views of the Jedi everywhere she went in the temple, whether it be Mace, whether it be Jocasta, whether it be your friends, whether it be your, and it was always kind of met with the, do your told, toe the line, do your meditations, be at peace, you'll figure it out. And this guy's kind of like, well, maybe you won't. Maybe you won't. Like, it's just not what happens all the time. He's like really down to earth and truthful, getting her great education. Of course, I think it was a great twist when we learned later on that was just another piece of the Palpatine puzzle. He's there to do exactly that.
Spy.
Yes.
Like Palpatine had his claws so deep in the temple, they had the spy in there, and I kind of knew something was up. We know that there's a Sith like sculpture, statue, whatever it is, underneath the Jedi temple. But when he started talking about there's areas of the temple that they don't let us go to, I was like, are we gonna go down to that Sith shrine? Is this where like she's gonna turn dark?
Right.
But then, dude, I was just like, I started having like a bad feeling about this dude.
Mm-hmm.
But I just loved how he was constantly like, look, the Jedi didn't let me join. I didn't get to be a Jedi, so I'm still here, and they still have me working at the temple. They still have me cleaning up after him. What's the first thing Iskat does when she finds out? Guts him, like straight through, no care. And this was someone who, like,
even though they're on the same side at that point, they're technically on the same side at that point.
And at that time, she was like really her only friend.
Yeah,
because Tualan wasn't speaking to her because of the mission that went awry. He was just like, "You are too dangerous. You are too unhinged. I'm pulling back from you.
I'm out."
And then you had the two others. You had the one girl. I can't remember her name. It will come to me because I want to bring her up again later. It was kind of like a catty high school.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh,
like,
mean girl situation, quite frankly.
It was like a mean girl situation. You can't sit with us. Of like that one thing happened with Taika where she pulled the column down, and because she has super sensitive hearing, she can hear everyone talking about her.
Yeah.
Oof. And again, it just showed that like the Jedi Temple was just like, this really wasn't what we thought it was growing up.
No, not at all. Not at all. Wow. Really powerful stuff, though. Really powerful stuff. I like Hizo again for exactly what you said. He gave her that moment that you want to root for him. You want him to be there because he's helping out our lead character. He's probably keeping her at bay for a while, but then we do find out at the end that he is working for it. It's kind of a gut punch to not. I feel like the audience feels it just as much as Iskat does. Even he, the only person that was ever real for her, wasn't real and still part of the mess that she's involved with. The fact she guts him so quickly without mercy, that it shows that was like the moment you needed to say, okay, our Iskat is no longer Iskat. She's definitely now dark side Iskat. If there was any doubt before, she's doing this without hesitation. She just goes ahead and pumps it.
Oh man, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's like for a while she refuses to go by the name of the 13th sister. Like she doesn't accept, like she's an Inquisitor, but she like feels like she hasn't like earned the right to the name. And the girl in question was Charlin, who was like the mean girl. And then they sent her to track down the Jedi, and Tualan goes with her, and they've kind of still playing like cat and mouse, like Ross and Rachel, like will they, won't they?
Right.
But then Tualan becomes absolutely crazed, like an Inquisitor. Like I think I'll probably come up onto the like conditioning last of it because it was, dude, it was just so awesome. But like they're competing against each other to go and kill Jedi,
right?
And it's just like this really is just sport to you.
Yeah,
because she pretends that she's there to rescue Charlin.
Yes,
and
that was the favorite part.
Charlin's still being really catty, and she's like, "Oh, we need to go find the Jedi Master. We need to go find the Order." And the fact that Iskat's just kind of like laughing in her head the whole time, like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you. You're gonna lead me to your master, and I'm gonna kill you both, and I'm gonna enjoy it." Because it was the I can't remember the master's name, but it was the master that was like took her through her meditations.
Yes. Yep. I can't remember who it was either.
But
not very good name.
Cleefan Opus.
That's him. That's him.
Master Cleefan. It was he was the one that like, because he was very much like a Zen master, just like do your meditations, be very mindful, blah blah blah. Seemed like a nice enough dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
But because he reminded Iskat so much of that mantra of like, there is no chaos, there is harmony, blah 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 blah, the whole thing. If you're watching this show, you know the Jedi code, you know the whole spiel.
Right.
But she was like, because he reminded her so much of that, she was like, I'm gonna toy with you as well. Like you're not getting off lightly. I could just kill you.
Right.
Like you've been battered, you've been beaten. I could just run you through right here.
Plays with their food. Like a true Sith.
And it just shows that from that moment on Geonosis, where she killed that Geonosian and she first had that taste of blood, like that moment of killing feels so good.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know, anything else that you want to talk about before we like kind of like grade it or whatever? Anything else you want to bring up?
Just the learning more about the conditioning of the Inquisitors.
Oh yeah, that was very fun too.
Oh man.
Like they just don't give a fuck about them in a way. Like they do keep them alive, but like they can, like you're gonna live. You're gonna choose to live and make yourself live.
And not only are like Jedi open season to the Inquisitors are open season to the other Inquisitors.
Yes,
because she had the one, I think, like I want to say it was the ninth sister, I think,
that
she had the sparring match with, and she beat her, and so she tries to kill Iskat in her sleep.
Yes.
And I was just like, dude, what the fuck kind of show? Like, what is going on? To the point, like when they show up, Palpatine is there to greet them.
Right.
And it's just like, you have to go through this long, dark. To me, it reminded me of the Grammaton cleric from your favorite film, Equilibrium. Just like they're all there, like just constantly sparring each other, but they're not going with training sabers. They're going live, like with real lightsabers. And then you have the big test of when Vader came in.
Yes,
I was like, oh shit! The fact that she nearly beat him.
Yeah, how strong she was.
But then Vader was like, okay. Yeah, she surprised
not that she almost beat him, but it was more the fact that she surprised him and got some knocks in that really kind of like, whoa, he's used to so easily dominating that someone who actually puts up a fight is something surprising to her, to him rather, as it were. I do love the fact that she you can feel bad for her then, she left the Jedi Order for good reasons. She didn't have a home there. She didn't have a family there. She thinks she might have found this family in the Inquisitors, and yet they're still trying to kill her. So it's such a sad moment for watching her grow up in a way. But man, it's so good. Like
the way they describe it, like her coming to and just seeing the red blade at the end of her bed.
Yes.
And then like seeing the it wasn't an assassin droid. I think it was some kind of like mind probe droid come in, and suddenly she's in the infirmary, like close to death, because she beat the other Inquisitor in a sparring match. Didn't kill her, just beat her in a sparring match and made her look like an idiot.
Absolutely. So
I was just like, this is awesome. And then seeing Tualan, who seemed like a nice enough guy, like they were conditioning him to become a Jedi's Jedi, even though I feel like he agreed with Icarus, but with Iskat, but he just didn't want to like say it out loud because he felt like they might like kick him out of the temple. And then he just becomes this mindless killing. But then I feel like there's still the feelings, because they play it off as like the two of them are, and we find out later in the epilogue and in the comics that they were in love.
Yes.
But he recognizes this cat, but then he's like, I'm gonna kill you. Like if you left me for dead, because they were on a mission together. And then
what
as the
toxic relationship they are into, you know, for that exact reason, they are all
it's Luke and Mara Jade, right?
They're gonna kill them. They're gonna kill. They will kill you if it's for the sake of the mission, or because they can't. That's the important thing. It's at that point. So powerful.
To me, that moment of when Order 66 started to happen, and they were about to kill Tualan, and she just turned and walked away. It was just like, later, dude. I don't care. Dude.
So good.
Say, I wish this had been an animated show. I love that it's a book. Don't get me wrong. As I said, this is probably my favorite Star Wars novel. It's definitely my top 3. Right. If this is like an animated series.
Oh man. This should be. Maybe we still will get it at some point. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think the character of Iskat is a bit too
much. Plus.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're doing stuff with Marvel over on Disney Plus now. You saw the Echo trailer. They're trying to go down a little bit of a dark path potentially. It can do its own thing. I mean, Star Wars, the whole is kind of more of usually a kid-friendly kind of thing, but it would be kind of cool to see something like that.
No, I mean, I just mean like she's such she is essentially, until this book, she is a glup show.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I'd be down to see it.
Absolutely. I hope we do. Like I said, I hope we do see something like that. It'd be kind of cool. Maybe we should get her at least in a game or something like that, some kind of other footage we get. Either way, it'd be pretty freaking sweet. I'm not gonna lie. Pretty sweet. So I do like her end with Vader and the lightsabers impaling each other, with her and Tualan dying, like a little bit like a Romeo and Juliet to a degree. Toxic relationship ends toxically. Perfect for this book. I don't know. What else? You have any other thoughts there on this before we start wrapping things up?
You mentioned that, and I just loved how the book came full circles, because like she was trying to essentially save a child, or like she saved the mother and like took the child, and Vader was just like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you allowing them to live? That's not what I told you to do."
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like she had that snap out of it moment. She had a come to Dagobah moment, and then Vader started chasing him down, because Vader saw the love between the two of them, and it reminded him of Padme. So he was like, if I didn't get to have that, you sure as shit don't.
Right. 100%.
It's just like there's so many different levels that we could go into, that and we've gone nearly an hour and a half. But like, if you haven't read this book, I strongly recommend, even if you just get the audiobook. Like, I can't recommend this high enough. It's so good. Well. And also, just a little plug, go watch Alex Damon Star Wars Explains interview with Delilah Dawson about this book. She goes into so much depth about it, and like the personal connection that she has with this cat.
I feel like that's what she does.
I want to write more.
I do too, because Delilah gets into these characters' heads and really feels like she puts so much of her heart and soul into them that you really feel like you know them, even if you don't. I just like them. Even they have their flaws. Her characters are not perfect; they're far from perfect, but they're believable. And you see their fall, you see what happens, and you kind of empathize with them to a degree, and more than other characters, maybe more than you should. But that's the beauty of her writing. I'm all about board seeing her do some more work in Star Wars.
I do have one more note. Sorry. I do have one more note. I am so stoked that Kelly Knox now has a character in Star Wars of Jocasta Nu's assistant, Noxie Kel.
That's fair. That's absolutely.
When I read that, I was just like, that's awesome. Kelly having like a little tip of the hat, a little nod with a character in Star Wars is so cool.
100%, man, 100%. All right, that's what we're going to do it for us this week. We had a couple of news pieces. We broke down Inquisitor: Rise of the Red Blade, our first book review. If you have any questions or comments, you leave them below. Let us know what you think. Should we do more of these? Should we do less of these? Do you want us to do them in a different style? This is our first time we try to do anything without breaking it down to our usual segment pieces. It doesn't seem to fit as well as the TV shows would. Yeah, let us know. Like I said, first time here, like and subscribe. Talk about us in the audio feed, rate us 5 stars, all that kind of stuff. Really helps out the channel. And if you want to help out even further, patreon.com/PLD projects. Could not do this without any of my crew there. Austin Goodell, Jeremiah Morris, Matthew Kearns, Bernie Buckingham, Jeff Alterman, amongst more. You guys are the best. We love you. But if you can't join the Patreon, I completely understand that as well. But just, get people involved and share it, like it, let people know we're here, build together that Star Wars community. And I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm happy to see that Ken Knapsack and Joseph Scrimshaw and Jennifer Land are coming back, bringing Force Center back, keeping Other Center, which was definitely great pieces of content during the strikes. I'm really happy to hear what they have to say about Star Wars. Speaking of good communities, they have a great community over there as well. So I'll fix that.
It's like when you've had a substitute teacher for like an extended period of time, and you start getting sick of them because like you stop being able to take advantage of them, and they're no fun anymore. And you're just like, the real professor's back.
Yes. All right, but where can the folks find you, Matty?
You guys can find me right there on all socials at Matty Morner. On all socials. And real quick, if I may, February 3rd, if you are a fan of emo and punk music, and you're also a fan of Star Wars, Marsh Isley, if you live in the Orlando, Florida area and surrounding areas, if you're going to MegaCon, tickets are on sale Friday. I'm going to do my utmost to be there. I can't promise, but if you're going to MegaCon, if you're around the Orlando area, I can honestly say it's one of the best parties that I've ever been to. So, and like, they're not paying me to say that. I'm just like, I love the guys that put it on. So it's a good time. Great community. We're talking about communities. Go check that out. But yeah, Matty Morner everywhere. Instagram, X, Twix, Threads, not Blue Sky because it's just too many. There's too many.
I agree. I would say I do Threads in Blue Sky, but I kind of don't really do them very much, to be honest with you. I guess I'm kind of waiting for it to take off a little bit more. I'm still stuck on Twitter, and I'm okay with that for now. I apologize for the Newsio on Twitter. Come find me all over PLD projects every week. We do Holy Snokes every week. Every week I do, try to do it every week for Crown Jewels. We Will Rock You is the song of the week for Crown Jewels. Longest episode I've ever done. It took me that extra week to do it.
Was there a Knight's Tale? Did you mention A Knight's Tale?
I did not actually mention A Knight's Tale. Sorry, I could have actually. I will mention it next week though, because next week's is We Are the Champions, and the Queen and Queen Robbie Williams version of We Are the Champions is actually on that soundtrack.
Yes, it is.
So that will really have to mention A Knight's Tale. That's fine. But yeah, we're going in deep core on that. Love that. Also, Two Dicker White Dudes on Film with PJ Campbell, myself. We're doing some bonus content for Doctor Who when the specials air, and of course, review with Lego. Every other week, I should say, we do a podcast on the great science fiction classic V, and where we're going from there. But that should do it. We'll talk to you about next week's topic as soon as we know what it is. It's not Roman yet, but it will be something else. Of course, along with the news.
Wait, when is that out? I thought that was out.
I think it's in December, I want to say.
Oh, it's December 22nd. For some reason, I thought it was November 22nd.
Yeah. So,
okay, so yeah, we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to talk, find out a new topic.
Talk about it then, exactly, absolutely. So, we'll figure it out, though. No hesitation, no doubts there. But until then, as always, my friends,
may the Force be with you always.